I don't want to be the one telling you, hey, Portugal or Italy or another country, but I want to give you all the opportunities and then you choose. And in theory, Anthony, the thing is, I don't want to go too theoretical, but it's a good idea in general to get exposure to more than one country. So if you can, you need to stack your passports. It's like with Bitcoin.
Are you a Bitcoiner and do you want a second citizenship? Well, oh boy, do I have a special treat for you today. I'm joined by Alessandro Palombo. He's the co-founder and CEO of Bitizenship. They simply allow people from anywhere in the world to get a second citizenship in Europe and to get Bitcoin exposure while they're doing it. In this conversation, we talk about how it works, why people are doing it, who's doing it, what the rules are, how can you actually make money with the Bitcoin exposure, and then we even talk about what are the countries where you can actually get the citizenship, and what does it allow you to do all throughout Europe. This conversation is fascinating, and it goes back and reinforces the theme that now people live in a global digital world. They want to have options. They want to be able to move around the world with much, much more freedom, and Bitcoin and a second citizenship getting put together. That's the type of stuff that people who watch this show, they like. So this conversation is for you. Here's my latest conversation with Alessandro Palombo. All right, Alessandro, I thought a great place to start this conversation is you're telling me that I can buy Bitcoin and then another country will give me citizenship so I could have like dual citizenship or something. How the heck does this work?
Well, we created the Bitcoin ecosystem Golden Visa Fund in Portugal. So this means that you can invest in the fund. The fund invests in a Bitcoin aligned company. So this company is a Portuguese company running in Portugal. We are based there and the company acquires exposure to Bitcoin. So when we created this model 1 year ago, it was a complete innovation. We worked successfully with dozens of investors so far. And that's why the name of this company, Bitizenship, Bitcoin citizenship. So,
all right. So hold on, let me make sure I get this right. So if I'm an American or anywhere else in the world and I say, okay, I want Portuguese citizenship, Portuguese has a program where if I invest how much money?
500,000 euro, half a million.
So 500,000 euro. If I invest that in somewhere in Portugal, there's certain rules, then I can get the citizenship. But if I'm a Bitcoiner, I don't want to buy real estate or I don't want to buy something, I want to buy Bitcoin. You guys basically created a fund that people could invest in. That fund then invests in a company. That company buys the Bitcoin. So it's a way to kind of, use the rules to your advantage to get the Bitcoin exposure and get a citizenship out of it as well.
Exactly. In substance,
That's
yes.
clever.
Thank you so much. It was, we had prior experience with Golden Visa programs. And in our view, the problem is always that, you can find investment opportunities, but not aligned for Bitcoiners, for people who, adhere to this movement. And we created the solution this was initially thought for our friends because we believe that, Portugal is betting on innovation. We wanted to also help the local Bitcoin ecosystem to grow. And this solution worked very well. And the unique thing is that if you want to get a European citizenship right now, only Portugal allows you to do it without having to move there. So you invest the half a million in the fund.
Anywhere else in Europe, you'd have to move to wherever it is. Okay. Correct. And if I get the Portuguese citizenship, I can go anywhere in the European Union?
100%.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the real power. Because Europe in the end is 27 different countries. But once you're a citizen in one of those, you can settle, you can get healthcare, education everywhere. You and your kids.
Okay. So how do I get my money back? Is there how does that work?
So this specific fund, the number one we created, is a closed-ended fund. So the remaining duration is 7 years. So ideally, you always need to maintain the investment for the 5 years for the Golden Visa purposes, for maintaining, for actually getting to the right to citizenship, and 1 year after. So you will get back your capital and hopefully profits at the end of the fund. Right now, it's 7 years.
Got it. And so the program itself requires that the money stays in the country for at least 5 years.
Correct.
Yeah. So people can't just put it in and take it right back out. Correct. Makes sense though, right?
And it's fair for the country because in the end, there is an operating company in Portugal. It's active in Portugal. We pay taxes in Portugal. And that's the balance. And in my view, the Portuguese program, along all the European programs, in the end, has been probably the most thoughtful in terms of how they created it. So it's, in our view, is the most competitive.
Okay. Now, who are the types of people who are doing this? Are these people who, they want to move to Portugal and get citizenship for some sketchy reason? Are these like business people? Are they families?
They're all business people with families. And most of them, we are quite proud to have onboarded quite successful entrepreneurs, most of them very well known also. We, of course, for privacy reasons, we can't disclose the name, but an interesting set of individuals. They want a plan B. So the primary objective is, I want to get a plan plan B for my family, because in the end, you don't know how the world will be in 20 years, right? So, or even in 10, or sometimes even in 5. So getting a plan B with Europe means to get an exposure to 27 different countries, and it makes sense. And we have investors from literally all around the world, a lot of Americans, of course, British, Indians, Brazilians, Mexicans, Chinese, everywhere.
Everyone. Man, that's crazy. All right. Now you did it in Portugal. It's working. You guys are, rocking and rolling, helping people get the citizenship. But now, you're Italian, I'm Italian. You're going to Italy, like a little homecoming for you, right? What is the Italy program? What are the differences or similarities to the Portugal program?
So Italy is going to, we are launching Italy is 250,000 euro. So it's the half. You need to invest in a Bitcoin startup that we are creating. The important difference is that the Italian program requires for citizenship you to live in the country for 10 years. So you need actually to move there. So if you want a citizenship, the Portuguese program, independently from future changes, is and will remain the best. But if you instead want to get access to Italy and eventually to the education system for your kids or healthcare, and you want to get a Schengen essentially visa with which you can travel across Europe, Italy, of course, it costs you half, and of course it carries I'm biased. I think you're biased. It's a great place where to.
Now, if you move there, what does constitute moving? Do you have to stay for 1 month, half a year, a full year?
Let's say, to play it on the safe side, half a year plus 1 day.
Okay. So you got to be there for at least half the year in Italy. No complaints, right? A lot of people would love to do that. But then you get to check the box, you do that for 10 years and you get the citizenship.
Correct.
Okay. What are the things that countries are doing to try to get you to come help them with this? Because I got to imagine that once they see people are doing it, the reason why these countries have these programs is because they want people to use them, right? They don't create it just to sit there. And if you're bringing all of this money, investment, people, citizens, et cetera, to their country, I'm assuming that countries are saying, hey, hold on a second. Well, you went to Portugal and Italy. Why don't you come here next?
So that's an interesting question. So we have some conversations going around, especially with a strategic place. I hope they will unfold as fast as possible, because our goal as a company, essentially, this is a kind of family business, a high growth, and we have prior track record in this vertical. And it sounds easy, but to put this together, it's very complex. And our goal is to essentially enable Bitcoin citizenships. That's why Bitizenship all around the world. So we would love to give optionality, because in the end, I believe I don't want to be the one telling you, hey, Portugal or Italy or another country, but I want to give you all the opportunities and then you choose. And in theory, Anthony, the thing is, I don't want to go too theoretical, but it's a good idea in general to get exposure to more than one country. Mm-hmm. So if you can, you need to stack your passports. Mm-hmm. It's like with Bitcoin.
And then what about, so Europe seems to be a focus. Now you guys live there, right? You guys, Italian, et cetera. Could you do this in Asia? Could you do it in South or Central America? Could you do it in an African country? Like what are the other options?
Right now, not really, because every country has its own nuances. And in order to have this model to work properly, at least, we need to have the right legislative framework. And right now it's pretty tight. So we can do it confidently, again, in Italy with its own nuances, because in this case, it's not going to be a fund. It's going to be a startup, a Bitcoin startup. We could do it in another European country, but we believe it's not attractive. And pretty much we check it out, of course, USA, Canada, Asian countries, Middle Eastern countries, but without eventually specific government approvals, it's not really feasible. You can do certain things, but it would be ultimately, in our view, not the best for the investors. And we want to ship only products that are critically, built for success and hopefully to address at the best they need. So right now, no, but let's put in these terms. We are constantly, every day, every week, checking out. And as the day that there is a program that allows it, we will be there. And of course,
yeah. What about the costs, right? So I'm assuming you guys got to make money somehow, right? It's business, capitalism. Some people don't like capitalism, down to socialism, idiots, but capitalism. In terms of people put the Bitcoin in, what is the cost that you guys, how do you guys make money?
So on the Portuguese fund, we run it with this logic of 1.5% annual management fee and 10% performance fee. So essentially, whenever the fund makes profits, essentially you take 90% and we keep 10%.
Okay. And then in that fund, after the end of the 7 years, can I get back Bitcoin or can I get back dollars?
Dollars.
Okay.
It's one of the effects of this legislation. But for the Italian product, this is a major actually news, because again, for the second time, we are creating something that didn't exist worldwide. So the Italian startup will be able to accept Bitcoin so which means investment in kind when you want to invest in the startup, and we will be able to let you redeem in kind, in Bitcoin. So for Portugal, no, it's fiat, unfortunately. For Italy, of course, there are different models legally and blah, blah, blah. But essentially, you can put and get back Bitcoin. That's very
interesting.
Good.
So Portugal, no in kind, but in Italy, you can do in kind contributions and also in kind redemptions as well.
Correct.
Yeah,
and
so
we believe this is
deal.
going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of Bitcoin friends, in the end, still now cashing out is a pain in the neck, right? For various reasons. In this case, we will be able to accept Bitcoin and give back Bitcoin.
Yeah. Talk about like Bitcoin as a kind of a peaceful asset. Like one of the things that like when I think of a Bitcoin citizenship, it makes me think of a world that is less abrasive, less chaotic, less zero sum. You win, I lose, I win, you lose. It feels like that's kind of what you guys are doing here, right? Is you're saying like, hey, we kind of drew like these lines on maps, and in some lenses, like for good reason, right? A country isn't a country without a border. On the other hand, the ability for good actors to go and visit and do this stuff, right, should be easier. Today's episode is brought to you by my partner, Bitwise, the global crypto asset manager. Bitwise has $10 billion in client assets, a team of 100 plus people, and more than 30 crypto products. One more thing, they've also got one of the best weekly newsletters in crypto. I say that as someone who's no stranger to newsletters. Take it from me. Bitwise's weekly CIO memo is dynamite. The weekly CIO memo is written by Matt Hogan, one of the best minds in the business. Matt has a knack for seeing the crypto stories that people are missing or digging a level deeper on things like the strategic reserve, corporate Bitcoin buying, or crypto price predictions. I highly recommend it. Matt's got some really smart and bold takes and a lot of wit. And the memo takes just 5 minutes to read each week. So head over to bitwiseinvestments.com/CIO memo. That's bitwiseinvestments.com/CIO memo and check it out for yourself. The Bitwise Weekly CIO Memo. Hot takes on crypto's biggest stories. And always, of course, carefully consider the extreme risks associated with crypto. Today's episode is brought to you by Polkadot. Polkadot offers secure, scalable, and decentralized blockchain technology that perfectly aligns with the needs of innovative projects. It was developed by Gavin Wood, one of the co-founders of Ethereum and the creator of Solidity. Polkadot aims to build an internet where users have full control over their data and their applications. Polkadot offers tons of unique features, a shared security model, along with the new auction model and significant implementations like ASIC banking. Given these characteristics, it's easy to understand why Polkadot is gaining more and more traction in the cryptocurrency world. Some people even are talking about it as the AWS of Web3. Now, companies such as Mythical Games, Astor Network, and over 50 other independent blockchains with hundreds of applications already leverage Polkadot's technology to power their platforms. If you're looking for a reliable, scalable, and cutting-edge solution, Polkadot seems to be the top choice for industry players. Go check them out today at polkadot.com. On the other hand, the ability for good actors to go and visit and do this stuff, right, should be easier.
100%. So I am a big believer in the concept of, in the end, even national borders in the next 20, 30 years should have less meaning. And this is, of course, a very complex and politically, of course, very delicate and sensitive topic. But ultimately, I would like to put it in these terms. So without going too much philosophical, in the end, the whole concept of national states, etc., was developed in a different world where we didn't have technology, we didn't have the internet, and so far and so on. So right now, to be very frank, in a global and internet-based economy, and when we have Bitcoin that is immediately accessible all around the world without barriers, to be frank, the same concept of barriers, as I see it, is more an obstacle to the human, in general, potentiality and freedom, rather than being a means of safety. Because even right now, compared to 300 years ago, the necessity of physical safety for societal members, it has evolved. So yes, if you want to put in these terms, it's correct. So we are quite proud to contribute to make borders for certain, good actually actors less relevant. And in the geopolitical spectrum, I think of the next 20, 30 years with the AI, an AI-based economy, in my view, it's quite critical to get exposure to different jurisdictions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What do you think is like the biggest hurdle? It's all regulation and like legislation stuff from these countries. If they would just create these programs, you guys could run wild across the world.
The biggest challenge is regulatory and administrative, actually, planning from governments. Why? Because ultimately, all these legislations, even now, they're not built for Bitcoiners or for tech. So when you actually go into the details and you need to build the actual structure, operating companies, and make them working, it's very complex. And I always say this because sometimes you think of, well, there are the laws and then you can just interpret them and you can apply them for your product. That's one layer of complexity. But then I have a PhD in administrative law. So unfortunately, I spent many years in doing this stuff. The real layer of complexity, in my view, is the one below the general law. So when you go into the details of how the rules should be applied and which are the authorities to confer to, that's where the incredible complexity happens. And to be frank, the whole game of second citizenships and eventually residencies is based often on countries that are not necessarily so efficient. Otherwise, they wouldn't have an incentive to offer the deal. I mean, the US is trying to is offering a 5 million golden card.
Some gold card.
And they said that the other day, we already sold 25,000. If this was true, it would be amazing, right? But it's 5 million. So imagine other countries are selling residency by investment programs, RBIs for 500K. Why do they do it? Eventually, they need to attract capital. They need to attract skills. Necessarily, they may be not the most efficient countries yet. So that's the real complexity for us, because when we need to deal with very convoluted systems and making it running and satisfying the expectation with the investors, that's our real job. So essentially, we are an intermediate layer between the huge complexities and sometimes the no sense generated by, I would say, legacy systems and the needs of modern investors.
Mm-hmm. Is it frustrating?
That's a great question. It is, but at the same time, can I tell you more? It's part of our mission, so we do it with pleasure, because someone has to do the hard work. And in the end, also, given my background, my prior track record and so far and so on. So in general, this is the vertical we can express as a team at best our skills and where we can be the most competitive. So to be frank, we do it with pleasure, but yes, it's extremely frustrating because sometimes, when you operate in tech and you have passed in, work in startups and so far and so on, you want to immediately generate an exponential value. And sometimes, of course, in this field, it takes time. But, sometimes if you want to run a marathon, you need to put the work, right? You can't go and run a marathon the day after. So we like to see this in these terms.
Yeah. You mentioned your background helping set you up to do this. Explain a little bit more.
Yeah. So I started my career as a lawyer. I got a PhD in public law. I did some academic studies. And I spent then 10 years in running and founding actually startups in the sovereignty field. I also advised the governments, institutions on matters eventually around specifically tech and specifically blockchain. I did a few things, but most importantly, recently I developed farther my kind of expertise into global living and global citizenship in this case via online content creation. I generated 240 plus million impressions organically on X in less than 12 months. So, I would say I developed my own skill set in the last 10, 12 years, precisely, along these topics, because only when you effectively work with institutions, even in order to enable them to adopt a new legislation on blockchain or Bitcoin, you understand precisely how they operate. Mm-hmm. So that's essentially the track record that I personally brought on the table. And my wife, actually, she already had a Golden Visa fund in Portugal, a successful one, in real estate. Before real estate became not anymore before 2023, you could have invested in real estate and...
Oh, you can't do that anymore?
No.
Oh, so you used to be able to invest in real estate and then get the citizenship,
correct,
but now you can't invest in real estate.
Correct.
So why did they take that out? That's interesting.
So this is one of the examples of how fast sometimes the window of opportunity, gets reduced because of political concerns. So the specific political concern in Portugal was based on a skyrocketing real estate market. And sometimes you think of Bitcoin, but you haven't seen the price of real estate in Portugal.
That's the price you don't want to go up.
unless you own it already since 2008, because objectively that showed us how crazy can a market be, and the multiplier eventually is almost as high as Bitcoin, because real estate properties sometimes did up to 8x in 9 years. Okay, so the same apartment, same property. I would say the legitimate concern politically was, okay, but we are pricing out from real estate our own people, especially because the purchasing power of Portuguese, is not among the highest.
That makes sense, though.
That makes sense. The unfortunate thing is that they realized after this legislative change that in the end, it was not because of 165, 300 annual investors per year coming, via the Golden Visa program to impact on the overall market. So if you look at the statistics, Portugal specifically had different issues. Essentially, the capacity of building new housing since 2008 hasn't grown at all. So the demand of real estate went a bit up and the supply didn't catch up. So this was the real cause. But politically, they thought, this default
the foreigners are taking our housing, right?
So this was the logic.
I mean, that's what's going on in America right now. There's a lot of people who think that that's a huge problem, right? Whether it is or not, it's politically, that's become a topic.
And I can understand them because, sometimes it's not easy. So no, I'm not trying to point finger and say, you're being guilty. I'm thankful of the opportunity, and I'm thankful to Portugal specifically, besides because we had with my wife, I produced a company real estate for many years. We lived there, but also because objectively they created the most thoughtful program, because you literally can invest, you bring value in the country, and you don't need to move. So this is, in my view, the best balance, because you still need to learn Portuguese a bit, you still need to do some online classes, you still need to spend a few days every 2 years in the country. So there is a balance, but at the same time, they let you be free. So if you want to remain in New York, you can do it. So this has been how the Portuguese story went. And if I can expand on this point, I don't know if you perhaps followed, but maybe this is a marginal topic in the grand scheme of things. But for example, one of the best programs was the Maltese program in Europe. So prior, actually this April of 2025, the European Court of Justice essentially axed the program. So the point I'm trying to share with you is this entire world of second citizenship is hyper volatile, potentially more than Bitcoin, which means today you may opt in Portugal with these terms. Tomorrow, maybe not.
But the people who bought the real estate, they were already citizens, so they don't get the citizenship taken away. It's just net new people couldn't use the real estate, right?
This is a general rule. So once you invest, you lock in your vested interest, and especially in Europe, we have a very solid set of constitutional rights that the government can't remove you. So once you invest, you're good.
And then they make people learn a little bit of Portuguese?
Yeah, a little bit. You need to either achieve a basic understanding and do an exam, an A2 level, or you need just to attend to online classes, I think around 120 hours.
Yeah. So it's pretty interesting that to become a citizen, they're you have to kind of assimilate to Portugal.
I would say yes, with the right balance. So they don't.
Well, I'm just saying from an American perspective, that's a taboo. Nobody wants to talk about that. Everyone's well, no, everyone should just come do whatever they want.
No,
whatever, right? But it'd be the equivalent would be in America, us telling people who want to immigrate to America, you have to learn English, you have to go to online classes, you have to do, that would be. The news would be talking about that for months here in America. There's no way you can make people do that. But other countries, that's what they do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This is essentially a requirement in every country, also in Italy, also in Greece, and so far and so on. So the assimilation is one of the kind of cornerstones. Of course, there are different degrees, and in the Portuguese case, it's a moderate slash low moderate degree. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. And then what are you most excited about moving forward? It seems like, Bitcoin's going up a lot. That's good. People are excited about that. But also it looks like you're trying to figure out what other countries you can go to, after you guys go and penetrate Italy. Today's episode is brought to you by Core. You can earn yield on your Bitcoin by just holding your Bitcoin. It's simple. Core, the leading Bitcoin scaling solution, will reward you for not selling your Bitcoin. It's not magic. Here's how it works. Core is a protocol secured by elected validators. You can help elect validators and secure the network by simply locking up your Bitcoin on the Bitcoin blockchain. No bridging, no lending, and just holding. When your validator secures Core, it earns rewards fueled by network activity and passes them back to you as yield. With a minimum lockup of just 1 day, when the time lock ends, you get your Bitcoin back untouched. Still your keys, still your coins, now your yield. For even higher rates, stake Core alongside your Bitcoin and multiply your yield. And if you want to see what your Bitcoin is securing, join millions of others in exploring the largest Bitcoin DeFi ecosystem. There are over 100 live apps in the network and the deepest liquidity in all of Bitcoin DeFi. Get off zero and start earning yield on even just 1% of your Bitcoin by going to stake.coredao.org/pomp. Again, that's stake.coredao.org/pomp, or go click the link in the description.
I'm super excited, to be frank, of the Italian route. Why? Because we believe Portugal, even there will be soon some legislative changes, but we believe that Portugal will remain the sort of best option for Europe because you don't need to move there. So we believe that even in the medium term, the next 5 years, we have reasons to believe, and we know a bit of rumors from, maybe which are going to be the political changes, the legislative changes. We believe Portugal will remain the top one, but Italy, well, everyone I talk to of this program, it's very attractive, to be frank, very attractive, and you never know. Maybe your son wants to go there and I don't know, just study fashion in Milan or so. I'm very excited about Italy, and we are also going to launch a third product in Portugal. So as I told you, you need to invest $500,000 in the fund for the residency and then citizenship pathway. So we are going to launch also a 200,000 euro donation for Portugal in Bitcoin. So you can donate in Bitcoin. And we are going to be the first ones offering 200 instead of 250. Of course, this is a donation, so you lose the capital. And you may ask me, why? If I can invest $500,000, sometimes, the entry point matters. And some people maybe prefer to say, okay, the entry point is lower, I just donate. So I don't believe this is going to be for sure the primary option.
Well, and taxes, right? If I have Bitcoin that I bought at a low price and it's appreciated a lot, if I donate it, I don't pay taxes on it. And so it's a way to give away capital gains and get something in return.
That's great. I never, for all matters of American taxing, I'm always a bit confused, but this could be
don't worry, Americans, we're very well versed in taxes. Our government's constantly, trying to figure out all these different ways. You ever heard of congestion tax? You know what that is?
No.
In Europe, they have it, but now we have it in America. Is the congestion tax is when you drive below a certain street here in New York, below 59th Street, they tax you.
From
one side of town to the other side of town. I say, why you do that? They say, because we want to prevent congestion. So, okay.
Doesn't really too much make sense, but I have to say, New York is amazing energy. I will definitely be here because, as I was telling you before, you need places with energy for running businesses, and people want to build organically things. But on the other side, it's very expensive. I paid for a sandwich essentially $15 in
That's
Portugal.
cheap.
Yeah, but it was like in Portugal you get with 3. So I joked. Actually, I'm going to post a joke online, like saying if you manage to work remotely from Portugal in New York, and you just with the money you save, if you invest in Bitcoin or ETFs, you're going to be to retire in 5 years.
100%.
Seriously, it's Uber. Yesterday we wanted to catch an Uber here. It was like $160, right? It was raining, so there was eventually
like the surge pricing and everything.
For sure, in the end, it's fair because it's a market. But on the other hand, there could be places where you can, your money can buy much more.
Well, the joke in New York, which is a very sad joke, is every time you walk outside of your apartment, $100. It's just somehow, no matter where you go, what you do, right? Go to the grocery store, $100. Get in the Uber, go somewhere to eat, $100. Like go to the office, somehow $100.
We have a similar joke, which essentially says, they're going to tax also the air you breathe, right? So
100%. If they can figure out how to do that here in America, they would 100% do it, right? They just haven't figured it out yet, so don't give them any ideas. All right, how do people find the product, find you, learn more about this, and potentially participate?
Of course, so you can go online on bitizenship.com. It's like citizenship, but with the B, so it's Bitcoin citizenship, bitizenship.com. You can apply. We will, our team will contact you within 24 hours. I'm very much active online if you want to follow.
You guys are working. I see you online.
I try to do my best. I mean, it's never enough. We're trying to put more energy. My X account is Ale Palombo. And I also write a Substack newsletter every actually Saturday on global living, global citizenship. I try to share because I lived across 7 different countries. I built businesses regulated and non-regulated in many jurisdictions. So I realized that a lot of friends asking me quite advice about structuring. So I try to give hopefully valuable insights about relocation, tax optimization structures. And I write it every Saturday. So if you want to follow me on Substack, you will find me under Palombo, which is my surname, .substack.com. And we would love to be in touch with anyone interested. Also, if you even are just thinking about relocating, and getting into a Golden Visa program, our team will be able to give you hopefully the best overview. And right now, Portugal, Italy, they are covered, but we will be soon in other countries as soon as the frameworks will allow it.
Amazing. You're a lawyer, right?
Qualified lawyer. I don't
That would
practice,
be an
but-
amazing law firm. Palombo and Pompliano, like, let us know if you get hit by a car. We'll be there.
Well, yeah, actually, I think running a law firm in the States with, how do you call it in English? But essentially, the practices when you get hit by a car,
Yeah.
it's a good business.
They sue for anything. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. If you drive down the street in like a lot of towns, you see like injury lawyers, whatever, like crazy stuff.
But that's one of the difference between Europe and the US, because here even doing advertising for law firms is allowed. In Italy, there are strong limitations. It's borderline legal, so you can't even buy the billboard, or you can't even say how many cases you won. But because you should have been a lawyer, right? This was the initial trajectory.
Yeah, everyone, when I was a kid, they used to say that I was going to be a lawyer because I like to argue with everyone.
But,
and I said, look, it's debating. You call it arguing, I call it debating.
It's never too late. If you want to Pompliano,
no, you know what's funny is here in America, this is some alpha for people out there. Historically, you weren't allowed to own part of a law firm if you weren't a lawyer.
Oh,
it makes sense. You got to be a lawyer, whatever. But they changed the rule in a couple of states where now you can own, I think, up to 49% of a law firm if you're not a lawyer.
It happened the same in some European countries, and you can do these companies among lawyers, and you can have also people participating only with capital. And that to be frank, that makes sense, because sometimes I'm a big believer. So I don't see myself at any time becoming a lawyer, but I mean, practicing effectively. I'm not registered in any barrister association, and I don't, although I could by right, but I believe there is a lot of room of improvement on that side as well. And partially, by the way, my companies, they always deal in one way or the other with legal, regulatory issues, because just zooming out, we are as a family and as a business, we're growing really fast as Bitizenship, but my interest, and you can find it online also with my other startup, maybe one day we can discuss about it. I really believe it's time to make a change on all governmental matters, because to be frank, there is I think we are all frustrated a bit with governments, and to be frank, I don't think it's a matter of a particular government failing citizens. I think it's a matter of maybe old systems. In the end, we are using the same systems of 200 years ago. And I think in the next 50 years, there will be a major change on that side. And
Bitcoin is a major change.
100%.
Right? And it's kind of a decentralized digital, technology product that I think has forced a lot of people to think a lot differently.
And it's crazy if you think that, the major probably obstacle to Bitcoin adoption was eventually an adversarial governmental stance. And with the Trump administration, like it or not, there has been an opening from the most important country in the world. And this changed all the spectrum for Bitcoin adoption. So right now, better than me, but everyone in finance, eventually until yesterday, literally a bit skeptical. They are all recommending 5% allocation plus. So it's the world is changing, and sometimes money comes first and then governments.
Yeah, it's interesting. All right, so Bitizenship. Bitizenship is the way to say it. All right, and it's just what's the website again?
www.bitizenship.com.
Bitizenship.com. All right. So if people probably search Bitcoin citizenship, you guys are number one, right?
We hope so. We are trying to work at best on SEO, but for now, X or Twitter is
Bitizenship, right? All right. So and on X.
And on X, of course.
Amazing. All right. Well, thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
I am, every time I talk to you, I'm super excited about you guys just keep growing, which is obviously really, really fun and exciting too.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. We'll do it again in the future.
100%. Thank you so much.